My name is Greg Spahr, and I'm the Director of Financial Management for the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes. I've been in my role a little over a year now, and with the organization a little bit over 2 years. In my role as the Director of Financial Management, I cover several divisions within the governmental organization. I cover the accounting, budget, and compliance areas. I cover the Indian IIM, or Individual Indian Monies accounts. I cover property and supply. I cover our economic development roles, and I also oversee the budget development process on an annual basis. Within the organization, I think that we look at the vision as looking back to make sure that all of the activities of the prior year have been accomplished correctly from a financial standpoint. We want to make sure that all of the expenditures match all of the intended outcomes. We want to make sure that all of our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed to make sure that we're in compliance with all of the regulations that come with some of the financial rewards or awards that the federal system provides for the tribes. We also have a vision for the future. So the budget development process helps take a look at what the upcoming fiscal year will look like. It takes a look at all of the anticipated revenues that the organization might receive, and then it allots those towards the different divisions and departments and gives them spending authority to reach and achieve their goals. So on an annual basis, the Budget Development Office takes a look at all of the revenues that any of the different organizations might receive, whether that be from government grants, from state or local grants, or any other funding authorities that we might receive, any of the instances where we are compacted with the federal government to carry out certain tasks that the federal government would otherwise be accomplishing. We've taken on compacts in order to say we will do this for ourselves, and the federal government provides the funding for us to accomplish those tasks. Our budget for the upcoming fiscal year of 2023 is estimated to be a little bit more than $186 million. So that takes into account all of the organization's obligations to care for members from a healthcare perspective. Our tribal health department is funded through that. We take into account the other compacted work that we're to accomplish on an ongoing basis, including law enforcement, the courts, prosecutor's office. All of that rolls into an annual budget. We have a big budget for our Natural Resources Department, which provides protection to the beautiful shores of Flathead Lake and to the watershed from north of Flathead and south into the Columbia Basin. We provide protection for our natural resources, for the flora and fauna all over this beautiful reservation. So we provide funding for what is called the Water Compact implementation, which is a historic settlement that the tribes have entered into. The budget for the upcoming year of water compact activities is just about $40 million, and that will include attention to the Flathead Indian Irrigation Project for rehabilitation and improvement efforts. There will be earthwork, there will be canal work, there might be dam work. This is a monumental project, and the upcoming budget, as I mentioned, is nearly $40 million. Our tribal funded budget is about $60 million, so these would be resources that cover the per capitas to members. It would be the resources that the government has set aside to meet elders' needs. It also set aside for any final expenses or burial expenses for members that they might need. There are other administrative costs, the costs of the court, the costs of the organization to implement all of the financial due diligence. We have, like I said, the accounting team and the compliance team. We have a big department dedicated towards facilities maintenance. So all of those things are a really important component of what our annual budget seeks to accomplish. So on an annual basis, we have a payroll that amounts to about $54 to $56 million worth of gross payrolls. At a net basis, that amounts to about $44 to $46 million worth of net compensation to the employees of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes. As it stands today, we have about 1,250 employees on that payroll. We cover payrolls for all of the divisions that are full-time employees of the organization, and we provide a payroll to each and every employee on a bi-weekly basis or 26 times a year. We're really proud of the fact that that compensation typically stays here in the Mission Valley and more specifically on the reservation. We employ both members and non-members within the organization, and that payroll stays here on the organization or on the reservation. We also think that it's important that part of our contribution to the local community includes any taxes that a non-member might be paying on the property that they own here on the reservation. We also know that our Tribal Lands Department does have some of the lands under what I would call fee status, and we contribute about $100,000 to $200,000 a year in taxes to the local communities based on the taxes on the properties. Another thing that we're really proud of is we really like to think of ourselves as supporting of the Boys and Girls Clubs. We want to make sure that that's a really important way for both for children of members and non-members, for them to be supported in those off hours before school and after school when learning doesn't stop. The tribes, through their corporations, are the shareholders in 7 different entities that we call our tribal corps. That includes EKI, it includes gaming, it includes our banking group, it includes technologies, it includes electronics, it also includes sovereign leasing and finance and the business development unit there. As the sole shareholder, we are very interested in both the economic development and success of those corporations, as well as the dividend that they pay on an annual basis based on their success as a financial organization. Those individual corporations also have their own payroll. They also have their own set of employees. As a matter of fact, those employees are outside of CSKT's payroll, and they employ people both locally and in various parts of the nation as well as various parts of the world, and they have their own payroll, and they have an economic benefit both to their local community and they have an economic benefit to the organization. The tribe uses the dividends that the corporations provide, so their economic success comes to the tribe on an annual or a semi-annual basis and supports some of the tribal endeavors. So when we talk about a discretionary budget that the tribe has that is almost $65 or $68 million, much of that is supported. 50%, up to 50% of that can be supported by the dividends that the tribal corporations provide out of their business success. So in our annual budget for this upcoming year, we've identified 3 what I would call specific characteristics of the budget. We call them mandatory, we call them permanent, and we call them discretionary. Some of the things that are mandatory are the things that we've compacted to accomplish. So the things that we have agreed with the federal government that we will carry out here for ourselves are the things that we are compacted for, and those are mandatory requirements for us to reach those goals. The permanent factor is a new factor this upcoming fiscal year. It says that Council has decided that they will make permanent 4 key component areas that they will fund on an ongoing basis. The 4 key component units of the permanent side include the economic benefit for tribal elders assistance, which is a payment that goes out to all of the elders of our tribes in January, and this upcoming fiscal year has been pegged at $600 per elder. Another one of the permanent facilities is the increased expenditure that we'll be providing for burial assistance. We know that as costs increase and as inflation is a component of our daily life, we've been sensitive to that, and Council has heard the members' concerns and has made that an increased benefit in the upcoming fiscal year. Another one of those increases is to the per capita, and the per capita this year has been increased to $1,500, spread out over the 3 payments in December, April, and August. So that is a permanent component of the budget. The 4th component of the budget is an allocation of $2 million in the upcoming fiscal year for land acquisition. It doesn't describe what lands we're seeking to accomplish, but it is a line item or a commitment by the Council to say we will set aside this much money in the upcoming fiscal year to reach certain land acquisition goals. So our budget development process is, I think, quite unique, and it's, I think, has a special place in my heart. So about midway through the fiscal year, so in about April of every calendar year, the budget director and I sit down and we reach out to every program director and every division manager and start talking about what are some of their goals. We've challenged every department to develop a one-year objective for what they hope to accomplish that have measurable, obtainable, we call them SMART goals, that are specific, that are meaningful or measurable, that are achievable, that are reasonable, and that are time-bound. And we use that as our framework for developing what we call SMART goals. We look at a one-year projected budget for the upcoming year, and we look at work plans designed around what they intend to accomplish. We're asking simultaneously for a 2 to 5 year narrative of where they see their department and their area or their division going over the next 2 to 5 years. We believe that that helps them kind of articulate what some of their intermediate term goals are. It certainly helps in the planning of next year's one-year budget because it tells them I'm taking this 2 to 5 year arc and I'm developing meaningful chunks as I'm approaching that. And lastly, we want to challenge them to say, what could we be doing differently or what could we be doing better? So the three components include the single year, the 2 to 5 year arc, and then the analysis of what could we be doing better. So each and every year we look at the intended or the upcoming revenues that are associated with that group. We then look at the intended expenses associated with them achieving those goals that they've outlined in the upcoming year. And then we talk about what of that goal is attributable to salaries, what is that attributed to machinery or capital equipment. Do I need a new tractor? Do I need a new excavator? Do I need a new boat? Do I need something to help me achieve my goals? And then we talk about what are some of the other expenses that might be associated with that. And the budget office is really looking to try to assign a certain spending authority designed around each division's goals and objectives that will help them meet their goals and have positive outcomes, because we want to make sure that we're tying the budget to positive outcomes across the organization. So let me tell you a little bit about our federal funding. In the prior fiscal year, we had about $120 million worth of federally awarded monies coming into the tribal organization. And the budget process that relates to that is if that is a grant or if that's federal funding that's tied to a specific funding source. Oftentimes those programs tie their outcomes directly to how that grant was written or directly to how the funding sources have described their measurable and meaningful outcomes. So we work with those programs to design around them a budget and a spending authority that matches not only what the grant will provide, but also what the grant requires in their intended outcomes, because we are audited on an annual basis about how and when we use those funds and how and when we expense them and how we seek reimbursement. And we want to make sure that each and every program and each and every leader in the field knows what those dollars need to be spent on, knows what the allowable expenses are, and then matches those activities with the financial funding source in order to achieve those meaningful outcomes.